Hi, my name is Derek O'Reilly. I work in the Carmichael Centre and I want to talk to you about the Governance Code, www.governancecode.ie. Just to give you a little bit of background on the Governance Code, this was set up by a number of organisations working within the community and voluntary sector on behalf of the community and voluntary sector, and it came about as a result of a lot of work within the sector and a lot of consultation with organisations and with individuals in the community and voluntary sector, and also some consultation outside of the community and voluntary sector on good practice in relation to governance. Just to be clear, the Governance Code is designed for boards and committees of community and voluntary organisations. It's not meant to be an operational manual on how to run an organisation. It's looking at issues in relation to how a board or a committee behaves and runs itself, and in relation to how it keeps that oversight of the organisation itself. This is the first time that a code of this type has been developed in Ireland, and it's an important development when you consider good governance has been a very topical issue in Ireland and internationally in the last few years, and it is important for the community and voluntary sector to make sure that organisations run themselves according to best possible practice. Why should you adopt the code for your organisation? Well, I think the key issue here is that you reassure yourselves as an organisation that you're doing the best you can in relation to good governance. You're also, of course, reassuring the various stakeholders in your organisation, particularly your beneficiaries, that this is a well-run organisation. And importantly as well, you're reassuring your funders, be they the general public, if you're doing fundraising in the public domain, or funding bodies that you might be dealing with. I'm going to run through the main principles of this code. I can only give you a very brief summary. It does require some more study and I suppose information from the website itself. The 5 principles are divided into sub-principles. So again, each of these principles that I'm going through is just a statement, and then there is a drill down through various different elements of each principle and how you would actually implement these principles for your organisation. The first principle is leading your organisation, and here we're talking about ensuring that you are doing what you set out to do as an organisation. And this can be a key issue for some organisations that might have been around for a number of years and have drifted away from what they originally set out to do. There can be a legal ramification from this if your memorandum and articles state that you're doing one thing and you're actually doing another thing. That can present a problem for your organisation, and as a board or as a committee you would need to reassess that. The second principle is exercising control, and this is looking at both making sure that you are complying with the legal requirements for your organisation, and also making sure that there are good, robust financial controls in place for your organisation as well. It also involves looking at managing risk. It's not saying you shouldn't take risks, it's just pointing out that you need to manage risks carefully and appropriately for your organisation. The third principle is transparency and accountability, and here we're talking about making sure that there is regular and effective communication with the various stakeholders in your organisation, and making sure that any messaging that's going out there is consistent with what your organisation is doing, and it's honest and reflective of what you're actually doing. And the board or the committee needs to keep an oversight on that, particularly to make sure that there are no contradictory or inaccurate messages going out on behalf of your organisation. The fourth principle is working effectively, and here we're talking principally about making sure that you as a board or as a committee are as effective as possible, mainly through the effective running of your board meetings. Sometimes board meetings can also drift a bit from their main purpose and perhaps get involved in discussing issues that are not appropriate for a board to be discussing. So keeping an eye on what are the governance issues that a board needs to be dealing with at its meetings and making sure that they're dealt with as effectively as possible. The fifth principle is behaving with integrity, and this is talking about being honest, fair and independent and protecting the organisation's reputation, making sure that you as a board or as individuals on the board don't do anything that would damage the reputation of the organisation. That's a very brief rundown. You would really need to have a good look at the website www.governancecode.ie, and then you can follow the guidelines and implement the code for your organisation. Just to mention also that there is an element of proportionality built into this code. There's an understanding that some organisations can be very small, very modest, perhaps with no paid staff, and then there can be some organisations that are very complex, and the code reflects this in having 3 different bands of guidelines. So band A would be for the least complex, or probably an all-volunteer organisation. Band C would be for the most complex organisation. But have a look at the website. I do recommend you have a discussion within your organisation on the code and how to implement the code.